What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Empire YouTube channel. Today we are taking a look at Tech Tuesday. If you're new, you're not sure what that is, it's kind of where we take the deck of the week and we talk about some ways in which you can make the matchup better going into it. This week we did talk about the new yellow archetype with Yellow Katakuri, and the deck it's a ton of fun. The main essence of it is, being able to kind of replenish your life while your opponent loses theirs. And there's a lot of cards that really kind of control the board and stuff. So today's aspect is going to be looking at ways to kind of counter the aspects of them being able to give themselves more life. So the first set of cards that we're going to talk about is for black. Now, there's kind of a lot going on right now, so I haven't had time to really kind of dive in fully into, a lot of the cards. But these are generally some things that I think could kind of help improve your matchup for it. The first card that we do have is the Black Smoker. This is the one that can't be KO'd by card effects, and for Dawn ×1, as long as there's a cost of 0 in play, it gains double attack. This is good just because it is a big 7,000 swinger, and it can get access to double attack. And the whole purpose of having double attack, as you'll see throughout all the cards, is it kind of gives leeway into the strategy that yellow provides. Yellow kind of wants to get rid of cards and also control their life, as well as give themselves more life while you rip life. And so if you deal 1 point of damage and then they just get the life back, you're not really doing anything. But if you can deal a double attack and they replenish 1 life, you're still dealing at least 1 point of damage. So it's kind of the best way that you can approach the matchup with trying to kind of get in the way and not give them full advantage of being able to replenish their life. So Smoker's good. It has 7,000 power, and your opponent has to drop at least 2 cards, and being able to get rid of their hand advantage means that you can get damage through faster. Next we have Gum Gum King Kong Gun. Main, up to one of your Dressrosa type characters gains plus 6,000 power for the turn, and then if you have 15 or more cards in the trash, it gains double attack as well. This is good because with the 6,000 buff, means that your opponent is guaranteed to drop at least 4 cards if they only have 2Ks in hand, or they have to drop 2 cards and use 2 events in order to, get to 8,000 power. So you're adding 6,000 power on top of a double attack. It's super lethal, and it means that you can kind of punish them for going to lower life counts. Next, we do have Impact Wave. Impact Wave is good just because, your leader gains plus 4,000, and then you can KO up to one of your opponent's active characters with a cost of 3 or less. You can get rid of blockers, things like that. There's a lot of events in here, mainly because the more events you play, the more likely they are to be in your life. And with your opponent rearranging them, it means that if you're able to see them more often, your opponent has to rearrange them, which means that, you can kind of set up board states where, if they know that you're going to get an impact wave and can KO any character on board with a 4 or less, it means that they're going to have to kind of play differently, and it kind of works in your benefit. Next for blue, we do have the Monkey D. Luffy. This is just good because, again, it's a 7,000 attacker that gains double attack, and you can also bounce a character to your opponent's hand. So this means if you're kind of going for a lethal play, you can trash 2 useless cards in your hand, return a blocker, go for double attack, and it's super good. Again, if your opponent is at 1 life and you deal double attack, you don't win, but they are going to be forced to kind of take that life and then put it back. And it's super good too because if they go down to 2 life and you get the attack through, then they're at 0 and they can only replenish to 1, which means then you only have to get 2 attacks through versus getting 3 through if you only deal 1 point of damage while they're at 2. So double attack's really good while they're at 2 or 1 life. Next we have Gum Gum Red Rock. This is just good because you can return any character to the bottom of the owner's deck, which means that you can kind of give them no access to their endgame scenarios when it comes to things like their big attackers. You can push them to the bottom of the deck and not really have to worry about them, and you can get rid of blockers and things so that way they can't really see them again or bounce cards back, all that fun stuff. Next we have 3,000 Worlds. It's the same thing as Gum Gum Red Rock. It's just in here because you can put a character with a cost of 5 or less to the bottom of the owner's deck, and it has a trigger that does the same thing but for a 3 or less. So it's super solid. You can get rid of blockers, you can get rid of things that are searchers like their Charlottes, all the fun things like that. You can get rid of the, I believe it's the character that you rip a life and can get plus 2,000. it's really solid at being able to kind of stop that strategy, because they try to, go down in life so that way characters on their side of the board gain extra effects, and then they give themselves lives back while controlling what life they get and things like that. So being able to really put a stop to that strategy is super solid. Next for green, we have Yamato. Double attack, banish. There's not really much to say. Banish is a very strong thing, and with banish you're able to, commit double attack, which is good at putting them at a -1 as far as, playing their big cards and getting a life back. But also being able to banish the cards means that they don't go to their hand. So cards that they, have looked at that have gone to the top of their life, so that way they can rip it. It goes to their discard instead of their hand, so that way they don't have access to it. Then we have Craig. On play, you trash 1 card from your hand, KO up to 2 of your opponent's characters that are rested with a cost of 4 or less. This can just kind of get rid of some annoying attackers and blockers, things like that they may have, blocked with. It's just an overall solid card. And then Dawn times 1, you're swinging for 8,000, and it has double attack. So again, it just puts the pressure on. And then we have Punk Gibson. This is just good because the trigger means you can rest anything. And on top of that, you gain plus 4k during the battle, and you can rest a 4 or less. It's just super solid. Then we have Straw Sword. Again, this is just to rest characters, so that way you can kind of control the board state. Because if you're losing board state and you're also losing life, then you're not in a good position. So you need to try to control one of those as fast as possible. And the one that you can control most often against yellow is probably their board state. Just because they have so many ways to manipulate their life, whether they add it or take it. Then for the green event, we do have I Will Become the King of Pirates. Your leader gains plus 1k during this turn for each of your characters. So if you have 5 characters in play, you have a 10k leader or 11k with Edward Newgate. This is just good because, it just gives the extra power. Then Minotaur we do have for purple. It's a double attack. And on the KO, you get to ramp a Dawn, so it means that you can kind of gain the Dawn advantage back. As far as, if you're forced to be in an awkward spot of going second, you can add 1 more and things like that, so it's super good. Then Douglas Bullet. We haven't seen this card really played much, but I feel like it could be good against yellow. Because the activate main once per turn, you can Dawn -4, and then you rest up to 2 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less, and then it gains double attack. It's a 10,000 attacker, so if you put 2 Dawn on this, make it 12,000 or even 3 for 13,000, your opponent has to dump a ton of cards, and then you can gain the hand advantage back. Then we do have Flame Emperor. If your leader is Ace, you KO up to 1 of your opponent's characters with 8,000 power or less, and then your leader gains double attack plus 3,000 power. So you get to do double attack plus 3,000 power. Your opponent's having to dump more cards, which means that, they might be getting life as far as being able to add life back to their life pool, but when you're making them lose hand advantage, it means that eventually they're going to have to take those lives, and then it won't matter as much. Then we have Green Star Rafika. You give up to 1 of your opponent's leaders or characters -2,000 for the turn. This is just good because you can kind of slow down some of the damage that they might do. It's just a 1-drop. Again, it's not really the best thing in the world, but you can just kind of give something -2k, and then you don't have to worry as much. The yellow card that rips a life gains 2,000, so it's a 7,000 attacker. You can give it -2,000 again, and then you only have to dump 1 card. Then for red, we have Diablo Jom 2. This is just kind of to, finally finish the game. If they have no life and, they have blockers on board, you can get rid of it. Then we have Fire Fist, so you discard an event from your hand, KO up to 1 of your opponent's characters with 5,000 power or less, and then up to 1 of your opponent's characters with 4,000 power or less. This just kind of helps with board wipe, so it's super good. And then, in case you play the Yellow Mirror, it might be kind of cool to play Prometheus. With the activate main, you can rest the card, and then up to 1 of your Charlotte Linling characters gain double attack, so it can kind of add a lot of pressure. The whole essence behind the double attack, though, is just because it applies a ton of pressure. Your opponent knowing that you're going to deal 2 points of damage versus just 1 might make them want to, play more cards that are based on adding life, so they're not getting as much board presence, because the characters that tend to do that are things like the 10-drop or 7-drop Linlin. And so it kind of works in your favor with being able to just add the essence, and then again, double attack kind of adds the extra edge, because rather than dealing 1 point of damage and then they get 1 damage back or 1 life back, then they only really have to deal with, you know, getting a life back, but they're still at -1 life, so it's super solid. So overall though, these are kind of the cards I think you can run. Yellow's a fun deck, definitely takes some practice so that way you can understand how to go through it, but overall, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's episode of What to Buy Wednesday.